Hi, y'all. So we are going to look at the mock test. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to hit preview. Um, these are some of the type of questions you'll get. In the first preview here, I'm not real excited about how small that looks. Hopefully it looks a little bit better on your side. But when I look at it, um, I'm going to look at the idea. My first thing I'm going to do on a source like this, I'm going to come here. I see Erasmus Dutch scholar and praise the folly 1509. I look at that. I look at the title up here, the Northern Renaissance. If I'm in your seat, I probably don't know who Erasmus is or was. And you're like, huh. But you know it's in the Northern Renaissance. So right now you should be thinking about my first thought would be, I wonder if this has anything to do with Christian humanism. Because I see Northern Renaissance, I see Dutch. I know Mr. Wassinger has talked about the idea that the Northern Renaissance was more literary and more connected, but we haven't talked about those individuals. So I'm like, all right. So I'm going to look up here. I see the whole tribe of clergy. I know that word clergy means religious leaders, universally loathed, and even by a chance meaning throughout will be ill or omented. And I'm looking through gloriously self-satisfied. And I'm going to look through, and I've read enough here. Impious. I see the word impious. If you don't know what impious means, that means pretty much against religion, and that's a impious popes. All right, so I'm gonna look at this. So I want to look here. Erasmus's critique of the clergy was clearly influenced by which of the following? All right, so I like that. I like that. I know it's gonna be this one. And the reason is because the humanist challenge of the institutional power of the Catholic Church is such a significant aspect for the North because the Pope's so far away. In Praise of Folly, we see this, it's a direct attack on the Church. The next question, let me see if I can make this bigger. Nice, that's much better. Not sure why. It's the same source. And here I see participants in the Northern Renaissance, such as the Erasmus, differed from the participants. So I'm the Italian Renaissance. I'm thinking differed. They focus more on humanism, focus more on humanism for religious reform. I like that Christian humanism again. No, that's not true. That's similar, sort of similar, sort of similar. So that's going to be here. All right, I'm comfortable with that. I'm going to look at this idea like, so now I'm like those in the Italian Renaissance. I don't have to go back to the source. I absolutely know it's classical antiquity. Yeah, because none of the other democratic reform we did not. I mean, I don't think Machiavelli was democratic. If you remember the end justify the means, New World cultures, we haven't talked about that at all, and that's just wrong. But you may be like, could that be right? Not in this context. And then medieval theology. Theology is religious beliefs, and we know that they were rejected. Now, on this one, this is going to be just or ordering. It's always going to have the first event on top. So I'm looking at this idea. I know that this is on top. I know that goes before there. Oh yeah. So when I look at this, I don't need to memorize years. I just know the early Renaissance really kicked off the whole unit. The fall of Constantinople absolutely impacted the Italian peninsula political developments that ultimately led to the beginning of the Italian Wars. And what's the biggest moment? The sack of Rome. Though the wars continued after 1527, we know the sack of Rome really is about the Spanish dominance of Italy. So we got that. This is going to be 2 points. If you missed one, I will come back, and if I can see that you had logic, I can give you a point back. But that's something I have to go back to. Here's another. This is a this one and the Erasmus one are from the AP website. So we're looking at this. I'm looking at portraits. I'm looking at Raphael, Italian artist Pope Julius II. If I'm in your seat, I'm remembering that his nickname was the Warrior Pope just from my reading. I think that's kind of interesting because I don't think popes usually are warriors. So what does that look like? But again, regardless of that, that's Julius. And here we see Raphael, this guy Heraclitus of Ephesus. So we see that. Fun fact: fun fact, that I forget who, that may be Michelangelo, I'm not sure, but as a model. But when we look at that, we're looking at these pieces taken together. The two portraits best represent which of the following artistic developments of the Italian Renaissance. I know many of you would have hit secularism. I don't think there's enough here with it being the Pope, with that. I think that's a good answer, but let's see. Is it the common man? Absolutely not. Is it rational? It's going to be the growing influence of naturalism. This is one of those questions in which there is a, I see why you go here, but the absolute answer is going to be this element. The idea of naturalism, humanism, the idea of how humans really look, the idea of the value of the individual, that is a much better answer. Now, if I were to put this on the test, I probably wouldn't add that answer, but this is the AP style, so you can actually see what an AP test looks like. I'm going to hit next. Same images. Image 2, Heraclitus, best reflects which of the following? I want to come back, just look at it again. School of Athens. I know Mr. Wassinger loves the School of Athens. Such an important piece. He taught us in great detail, and we see ancient Greek philosopher. Definitely not Christian humanism. Yeah, it's going to be that revival. Because again, we haven't really challenged the power of the universities, and there's nothing Christian about an ancient Greek. So we got that. Perfect. Got one last question for this one, right? The commissioning of image 1. Commissioning means the patron. Immediately I see Pope, I see the year 1511, clearly during the High Renaissance. We know about that. So, and we know that's Raphael, which again, Raphael is such a fabulous painter there. And we look at it. All right, let's see. I like this one right away, but before I press that answer, the use of print culture to disseminate doesn't make sense since it's painting. The growing power of the merchant secular elites, I don't see. Now, once again, there is some truth to that, but not in these images. An ancient admiration for classical Greek and Roman worlds. I'm looking at this element. I'm in between those two. I'm going to stick with the use. It's special. Oh, dummy me. It's only image 1. So image 1, it's Pope. Clearly, it's going to be that. Perfect. So let's see what we got. We got next. Which of the following most facilitated the rapid adoption of the printing press in the last half of the 1400s? Remember, that's the 15th century. I really like this. I like the idea of increases in literacy or decreases in the cost of books. That the original answer had the decreases in the cost of paper, but I thought that was a little bit abstract for a ninth grade student. So I looked at this. So cost of books, I think that's valid. I like that. Demand for the vernacular versions of the Bible. 1400s, the vernacular language was not a emphasis quite yet. That's going to be in the turn of the 16th century. Subsidies for new monarchs to establish the official government. That's a good thought with the idea of the new monarchy, but I do think really it's a rapid with the increases in the literacy rate and the decrease in the cost of books really was facilitated by that. And then the interest in new geographic discoveries. No, so I'm going to go with that, and that is the right answer. Did I just skip one? I did. Which of the following it was the ways that monarchies in the 14 and 1500s seek to create more centralized states? So right now I'm thinking about the new monarchies, which ways the 14 seek to centralize their state by encouraging the development of livery and making it. That doesn't make sense because Mr. Wassinger pointed out that was divisive as the nobles had power. Redistributing lands for the nobles to the poor, that would be a good way to reduce power of the nobles, but again, that would make the nobles way too angry. By establishing new representative assemblies, Mr. Wassinger focused on traditional institutions such as Parliament, Estates General, and the Reichstag. So that doesn't make sense because they didn't establish those new by curbing the traditional power of the nobility to administer justice. That would make more sense to me as the kings are attempting to create a royal set of laws to unite. Which of the following features of the Renaissance had the most influence in the development of new political theories there? Which of the following had the most influence? All right, so we're talking about political theories. I'm looking at Italy. I'm hoping that when you saw that, you mentally said political theories, mentally said, that's Machiavelli. All right, got that. So the use of closing up, nope. No, oh yeah, of course. This is going to be because that is the number one feature that influenced that. Because they were city states, what did they form? Yeah, power vacuums. Power vacuums shifted into theater of war. So that's cool, cool, cool. And here's the one I hate how Canvas doesn't allow us to give you singular to score this differently. But I will go back and I will, if you miss one, I will definitely go back. I want to point out that I believe there's 12. It's only 6 points because I do believe that I don't want to overweight this issue. So each one of these are going to be a half point. And when I think of Christian humanism, oh, I don't like this. That's not going to. Oh, there she goes. Good. All right. No, Christian humanism. Peter Bruegel was definitely Bruegel the Elder, really important. Mr. Watson used 3 of his pieces. Pope was patron there. Donatello, oh, that's interesting. You can do it that way. I like to drag and drop myself. Botticelli. And I hope you notice that Mr. Watson definitely limited the number of artists we need to know. It's all in the study review guide. Look at the sack of Rome. Of course, it's going to be there. I love, when I say I love as a historian, it makes me so happy when my students remember that. And then boom. So just my rationing, I know Donatello, Botticelli, and Florence were under the early Renaissance. I know the Pope, Michelangelo, and Rome were all about the high Renaissance. And I know Christian humanism developed in Northern Renaissance. I know Bruegel the Elder's work really defined that era. And I know the formation of Hansa. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if let's see. I'm going to hit submit. And right there, watch me miss one. I'll have to go back. Let's see. No, yeah, I got 100%. Just teasing. And in this sense, you're able to go back, and if you see that if you put one of those in the wrong issue, you probably get a point back. And if you come down here and you see you got one of these, of course you're going to get points back. But each of these are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Each of these are going to be 9, so I have to figure that out percentage wise. But I'd give points back here. I probably would give 2 points for each section. That's good. So you can probably have up to 4. If you miss one, you might get 4 or 5 points. I hope that makes sense. Again, that is my video. I'm going to stop that. Perfect.